For this question, even though it involves a chart, the answer choices are a little bit longer. I don't see a lot of numbers in those choices, so I probably wouldn't check the accuracy first here. I would go to the passage and try to understand what we're doing to support the researcher's claim. But just because I've done it in other videos in this test, I'm going to do it here as well and show you why sometimes it's not a great idea. If I look at choice A, for all 5 species, less than 75% of juvenile plants were growing in patches of vegetation. So that's this column here, and it's true, yeah, less than 75%. So yeah, that seems true. B, the species with the greatest number of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was this H. stochus. Well, that's here, and the patches of vegetation is 12. Oh, that's 12 patches of vegetation and then 23 total, but only 52.2%. So it's just, this one seems wrong, I guess. I feel like I don't understand the chart very well, but that seems wrong. Just inaccurate. Let's look at C. For those two, the percentage of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was less than what would be expected if plants were randomly distributed, so less than random. That might be true, but I don't know what random distribution is supposed to look like, so that I just don't really know at this point if it's accurate or not. And the same thing is going to go for D. For each species, the percentage of growing in the patches was substantially higher than what would be expected if they were randomly distributed. Again, I don't know. So this is just a good example why accuracy might not work. The choices are not leading us towards data points. They're kind of summarizing it, and they're putting in the context of some larger claim. So we kind of need the passage to get that larger claim. So let's just see what we get. All right, researchers' claim. These people recently examined several plots within a diverse plant community in southeast Spain. The researchers calculated that if individual plants were randomly distributed on this particular landscape, only about 15% would be with other plants in patches of vegetation. They counted the number of juvenile plants of 5 species growing in patches of vegetation and the number growing alone on bare ground, and compared those numbers to what would be expected if the plants were randomly distributed. Based on these results, they claim that plants of these species that grow in close proximity to other plants gain an advantage at an early developmental stage. So if they're in close proximity, they gain an advantage. So now I'm leaning towards D, because for each species, the percentage of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was substantially higher than what would be expected if they were randomly distributed. Well, randomly distributed is 15%. These are all way higher than that, 50-something, right? So that seems true, and therefore I guess they must get an advantage because there's so many of them that are doing it, that it must be good, or they must survive if they're in there. Like, I'm not going to try to think about it too hard. First of all, now I know that C is not true, right? Choice C is wrong because all of them are in the 50s, and that's all greater than 15. So they're not less than. So that's definitely wrong. B we thought was wrong originally as well, so that's gone. And then A, for all 5 species, less than 75% of juvenile plants were growing in patches of vegetation. Okay, that is true. But why 75, right? That has nothing to do with the passage, right? So this is a good example where we could probably try to more deeply understand how these plants work and what the advantages and evolution are for the plant, being with other plants and all that. But I wouldn't waste my time. The number 75 does not appear anywhere in these lines. So why should it be in the choice? Why would I have a conclusion about 75% if there's nothing about it in the paragraph? Whereas choice D does, well, they're talking about random distribution. They do talk about that. They say 15%. And so that makes sense. It kind of just fits with other ideas that they said. I don't need to kind of connect those dots so tightly that I understand how these plants work. I kind of get that choice D and the passage and the chart are all kind of hovering around the same few ideas. And so I have the confidence to be like, well, there's a lot of things that seem to be going well here between these 3 pieces. So that probably means that this is the right answer. That's okay. Don't try to understand the science all the time and in a very deep way. You just don't have the time to do that on these sections. So you got to move fast. Once you get to a certain level of confidence that you kind of are in the right zone, pick a choice and move on.